So this is it. I won't say the title because I might get the algorithms to hit me,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
that's it. And then let me just shrink the screen a little bit. Um, yeah. So I'll just go to the images, and then
yeah,
people can. So there's text on some images, and so yeah. I mean, this is how it kind of all started, right? You can see that, everyone. Yeah.
yeah. I can
Um,
see.
the man on TV. Lots of fear and confusion, wasn't there? And once in a state of fear and confusion, people will generally default to the groupthink, because there's a sort of safety to subsume back into the collective when in a state of fear, isn't there? Because then you sort of safety in numbers kind of thing. So that's what was
But you
bombarded
can't
onto
think
people.
straight, can you, when the
No.
mind's in fear, of course, no.
You're in
And
that you're in your limbic nervous system, aren't you? So
that's the one.
you're in survival. You're in that fight or flight state, and yeah,
Yeah.
so then people just wanting the authorities to look after them. It almost infantilized everyone, not everyone, but the majority of people to just like, Big Daddy, look after me. It was
Yeah.
that kind of thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. And the daddy is the state, even illegal. And we're learning from Neil and Stephen, as above, so below. It literally is the constellations are in the land. And yeah, the black cube, the black box
Mm.
of Saturn in the corner, though, that's debatable.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know Neil's got some stuff on that, hasn't he?
Yeah.
You,
Well, and they're
you,
all we're classed as infants. That's why you get the infantry in the army. That's why we're classed
yeah.
as combatants on our birth certificates.
Mhm.
Literally, the daddy, the state is the daddy under parens patriae. If you don't know who you are and you're constantly in a place of blah, 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 then the
Mm.
state will make all those decisions for you, and that's all. Fear and confusion is their friend, but it ain't
Absolutely.
ours, of course.
Absolutely. So I mean, this is what happened, and then it got to the point where people were absolving themselves of their own independent thinking and also their own morality, and they were giving that away. They were abdicating that to the state to then make the decisions for them, and it then became you're a good person if you follow orders, rather than you're a good person if you have a very strong moral compass. And so that was the kind of the division amongst the people. There were those that were just thinking they were doing good for following orders, trust the science, and there were those that were just like, no, I'm strong in my moral compass and I'm going to stand by that, and I know what's the difference between right and wrong. That's more important than the authorities. So we could see that happening, couldn't we, quite quickly over the first few months? There were those types of people and there were those types of people. And yeah, it was good for the people that really held the line. And if I go on to the next one here, this is the sort of things these are one of these was the sorts of memes that were thrown at us. That again, this is a form of hypnosis. You know, they probably spent a lot of money working these out. Stay home, save lives. The alliteration in that, the
Yeah.
emotion, the appeal to emotion. 6 feet apart. I mean, it's always six. There's a lot of sixes, isn't there, in these things as well, Carly? Yes, I don't know.
Neil
But
actually blew my head off in the last interview we did because I've always
mm,
gone, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, 6 protons. We are the
yeah,
carbon they want to reduce, right? Which is true as
yeah,
well. But also when Neil was saying about, Saturn being the sixth planet from the sun and
mm,
with the hex is the six on it, but it's all to do with, Saturn means the mast and that it's sending this frequency like
mm.
down to us and all this kind of stuff. You have to watch that interview. That really blew my mind. So, but yeah, there was a lot of sixes. It's a big occult number,
They
isn't
seem
it?
to love that number, though, don't they?
They
They
look,
really do.
yeah,
But
they
yeah, like all these things, trust the science, flatten the curve, new normal, protect the NHS. I mean, so they just bombarded us with all this, and then people were just, yeah, in a state of mass formation psychosis, in a state of hypnosis from all this. You even had um, well, I might come on to it in a little bit, but protect the NHS, for instance. The
Mm.
hospitals were empty,
Yeah,
completely empty,
they
and yet
were.
people were actually banging their pots and pans and clapping at 8 p.m. on a Thursday or whatever it was
Yeah,
outside their house, right? Because I
yeah,
think I think that was an important part of the psyop, was to ritualize it, because if they didn't have those kind of rit ritualized elements to it, then perhaps no one would take it seriously. But you know, by getting them to bang their pots and pans and clap outside their house for the NHS, it reinforces the narrative that wow, these nurses and these doctors are like completely overwhelmed. The hospitals are like bursting to the seams. They can't deal with it. We need to thank you for all the hard work. Whereas it was the opposite. They're empty, completely empty hospitals. So they needed to do
yeah.
that to reinforce that narrative. And
Yeah.
even the mask wearing was important because if no one wore a mask, there wouldn't be a visual indicator of this pandemic. So
Yeah.
the mask was almost like the visual clue to remind people to be fearful, to remind people to be scared. And actually, I don't know if I told you this, but early on in 2020, I went down to Speaker's Corner when they started to, I think it was March 2020, when they started to mention lockdowns in the UK. And I got on my soapbox, I got on my step ladder, and I was
Yeah.
like, do not wear the mask. Do not wear it. Because if you wear this mask, it's gonna be like a slippery slope. It's gonna be like boiling the frog. It's gonna lead to one thing, another thing, another thing. And it's the visual clue to remind everyone to stay fearful. So yeah, so
Yeah.
all that hypnosis was going on, wasn't it?
Yeah, and wow, like just as simple as right from the beginning, before I, really looked into the science and not the dollar science, because that's that's that
Mm. Yeah.
snake and oh, wrap around that staff. Again, it's a very alchemical occult symbol that they utilize and hijack like everything else. But just that the mask was always a symbol of slavery to cover your mouth, and I
Mm.
mean just the craziness of that, and very, very cleverly, like you say, I was doing some citizen journalism, let's say, before I realized citizen means slave. But that idea of that they compartmentalize those hospitals so cleverly, so that actually, fair play to the nurses who didn't know any better, but that kind of, I was just doing my job, ain't gonna kind of like cut it type of thing. But unfortunately, yeah, it won't. But the thing is, like, they were then dealing with a lot of people coming in wheezing chests, they were intubating them and the rest, and again, we can't perhaps say too much without getting our legs chopped off. But then, of course, these nurses are tired, but they're in one room, in one little place, and we know what they were doing with the one, in the care homes, etc. Perhaps need a code word for that. Mad, mad, the stuff that we know that what's his chops was dishing out in
Matt
care home.
Hancock's sweeties. Should we call it that?
Cock sweeties, let's call it.
Yeah.
Very well done. So,
Yeah.
of course, I got a lot of people going, sending me pictures of tired nurses, John, at the time, saying, look, but they were compartmentalized into one room and they were told to do exactly, the opposite of what would help these people. And we know that those are facts now. This is no conspiracy theory. This stuff is all coming out.
Yeah, it is now. And I think a lot of the moderates have woken up. I call them the moderates. Like the people that are totally asleep, they're not going to get it. They're just too inured by the system, as Morpheus says. But I think the moderates are sort of the people that are like not one way or the other. They're just not that interested in research, but they're kind of open-minded enough to, listen to information when you tell them. I think they're waking up a lot. I've had a lot of friends come to me and they said, I really regret getting the three dot finish. And I'm kind of I really regret it now. So they're and he goes, all that stuff you were saying about P. Diddy and all that has come true. And I was like, yep, there you go. Am I a conspiracy theorist still? And they're like, well, yeah, maybe
Still
not.
not.
But yeah. Um, and yeah,
The
I don't know
Diddy
if you
stuff, I
remember
mean,
that.
I've been saying that
Yeah,
for such a long time as well. Because
yeah.
the thing is, the clue is always in the title. Again, it's always in the words, Puff, Daddy. Puff,
Mm,
Daddy. And we know that they create these tapes as
mm.
collateral and to
Yes, yeah.
manipulate, we all know the Diddy story, don't we? Diddy
Mm.
did it. That's who did it, Diddy did it. But we know it goes far darker than that.
And
Very
also
interesting.
Ellen was talking about that, wasn't she? Ellen DeGenerate.
Ellen,
She
yeah, we
just
all know
left.
that.
She just left the country, isn't she? I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, that's we'll save that for another show.
That's another
But
show.
yeah. Um, but I mean, yeah, this is another thing that happened. Do you remember when people were snitching on their neighbors as well, just for kind of going outside and um, maybe sitting on a bench if the bench wasn't cordoned off. I mean, that was another thing. They actually put tape over benches, wooden benches.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
I mean,
just I just can't
it's
get
not,
my oh God, yeah.
can it get any wackier? Yes. Yes, it will.
Mm, yeah. So I mean the snitching that was going on as well. And people
Yeah,
getting arrested at the beach, people getting arrested going into the sea. It
yeah,
was
yeah.
just I mean,
And the people swimming in masks, people
I
lifting,
know.
people eating and pulling masks down so they can eat and going back up again. Because,
Yeah.
you can't stand up without a mask
Mm,
on, but you can sit down without one and it won't get you. I mean, the
I know.
lunacy of it, the
I've got that
absolute,
don't worry, that's coming up. I've got that slide in.
oh,
I've got that image in there. So,
I'm
yeah.
ahead of myself.
So that was, yeah. So the snitching that was going on at the time as well. Because yeah, it was. Now we know how the Third Reich happened. They say I was just following orders. That's it. People were just following orders. We now know that people are capable of doing the most insane, heinous things just in the
Yeah.
name of following orders. I had nurses contact me, and one actually said, she goes, John, I know I'm killing people, and we know we're killing people. Billing, I might say billing people just to no, but that
Killing
we know we're unending people. I don't know how we could say this like but you get, I've already said it now anyway. But they said we know we're doing it, but we're just following orders. We're told to do this, and I don't want to lose my job, and I've got kids, I've got a mortgage, and I've spent 15 years becoming a nurse or a doctor, or whatever, and I just can't risk it. So I'm just giving them the protocols, but we're seeing it's unalive in them. It's unalive. Yeah, I'll use that word. And it's just following orders. And we saw that with the general public just going absolutely mental. I mean, I've got a few more slides where I can show that. But I mean, here, look, I mean, again, all the gyms were closed, right? But McDonald's was allowed to stay open, you know.
Wow. And
You know,
insanity.
it's like, and
And
then when they
there's those,
care about our
there's
health,
those,
really?
those golden arches again, the occult meaning of
Mm,
the arch and the colours, the yellow, those kind of lower rays, and it all had this, everything has this occult meaning to it. And they knew that. And like you say, leaving
mm.
all that aside, just like you said, you can't go to a gym, but you can go and shove your face with a Big Mac meal.
I know, yeah. I mean, that I would have
Mm.
thought that would have woken a few people up, but it didn't. And then yeah, like in the remember the arrows in
Ah!
the supermarket, reminding people where to go just because in case they catch the V. Um, yeah, I mean that was lunacy, wasn't it? I mean how they thought that that was going to in any way. What was their thinking behind that with the arrows? Like what were they hoping to achieve? Do you think with that?
Just compliance, isn't it? Just to see how far people will
Yeah.
literally take it. I mean, we know that the rebels of us, I used to walk the way
Mm.
wrong way around on purpose. I never wore
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
a symbol of
Mm.
slavery. But I also realized, I would say in a fortunate position, but it takes a lot of inner work, man, to kind of have a lot of wisdom and that spiritual wisdom by that point. And look, hello, it's not like I'm some kind of guru or anything. I'm not polishing my
Mm.
halo, but I just knew. But so, the people that didn't, and like you say, people wanted to keep their jobs and they keep their houses and feed their children. What an awful thing to do to people. I was in a different position, probably because I placed myself there over the years, knowing. But we all play our role in it. But yeah, mine was just to start shouting from the rooftops of what pure
Mm.
insanity was. But that reactive, weren't it, John? That you're
Mm.
disgusting. People are ending the existence.
Yeah.
It was just absolutely crackers. But yeah, walk this way and you won't get it. It's nothing
Mm.
to do with viruses, and we've all realised that viruses are inert now. And
Mm.
the only way you can get one is if it's put into you, shall we say. Nearly
Mm.
said that word.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, I did shows on that as well. About how the V wasn't actually isolated. It's never been isolated. It's only ever been cultured. So
like all of it,
yeah,
all of it's the
it's
and it
doesn't
doesn't go to
actually.
cock
Yeah.
pockets, does it? I remember that one, the
Yeah.
cock
Mm.
pockets, and because the only way they can create that outside of the human body is to mix it with bovine this and monkey
Yeah.
sperm that. I mean,
Exactly.
it's that silly. And it's dollar science again, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
not.
But isn't that amazing how the whole world came to a standstill and millions of people were unalived, all for something that never existed? I mean, that is pretty,
Yeah.
you know, intense, isn't it? But
Well, I think we can all say it was.
yeah, yes,
Um,
yeah. And we've spoken to John O'Looney. I mean, you just watch those episodes. He talks about the excess deaths, how many there are.
yeah.
And if you extrapolate that worldwide, we're actually talking about millions here
Oh yeah.
from it.
I mean,
So,
it's
um,
it's, it's unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, and that's the thing. What's that famous saying? It's so unbelievable. People
yeah,
didn't believe it.
no,
It
the
sounds
lie was big enough. If you repeat the
yeah.
lie enough, and the lie's big enough, they'll believe it. Yeah, it's that thing,
That's
isn't it?
exactly it. And like Lynn said, I was ostracized by my family, and that's what happened to people, weren't it?
Mm,
Do you remember them coming and, on the mainstream media, there's that stream, there's that water flow of
mm,
our consciousness again. But, and they literally weren't they saying that we shouldn't be allowed hospital care if we hadn't had the jabby and or the three dart shot, whatever. I'm losing the plot. But yeah, exactly. And
yeah,
we all had
they
to
were.
suffer that.
They
Yeah.
wanted us. They wanted us DEAD, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. We were
You know,
scum, weren't we? But
we
not
were
so
the
funny.
dirty spreaders. We were the unclean, weren't we? It was like creating an out group. It was like, going
Yeah.
back going back 80 years, wasn't it? To the out group. And but then the thing is that who are the ones now who are trying to support the V damaged, the three dot finish damaged? It's us. It's not them. It's us. We
Yeah,
still
yeah.
care about you, even though you made a bad decision and you wanted us unalived. We still care about you now that you're V damaged.
It's
So,
true. It's true
but the
that,
people,
John.
but the people that were pushing the dot, they see their friends and family get V damaged. They don't care about them. They still support it. They still support the idea of the dot. We're the ones saying, no, no, we want to help you. We want to, but it's so I do actually think that we have the moral high ground on this one. I really do.
I just we're going to be still doing some of those parties. We were going to do it this year, but it
Oh
just
yeah,
didn't work out, did it? But we will do some of
no,
the parties. What were we calling them again,
yeah,
John? I
pure blood
forgot.
parties,
Proper parties, yeah. But the
pure
thing is,
blood.
like you
Yeah,
say, I'm full of compassion. We want
yeah,
everybody to see this, and it's not about them versus us because we're not built like that.
yeah,
We're still here going, please join us,
yeah.
join us.
No,
But
exactly.
yeah, what does it mean if someone's got Lindsay's got a star next to her name? Lynn's a star. Does that mean she's joined my channel? That's exciting. What does that mean? Have I got
Oh, maybe,
somebody?
yeah. Maybe she's
I've only
a
just
first
started
tier.
that.
Yeah, I think that might be a first tier member. Yeah.
Lynn's, are you a
Well
member of
done,
my
Linz.
channel? Wow. Do you know what? I wouldn't even know how to check that. You're gonna have to show me, John. I've only just started doing that. So if
Oh, yeah.
you do
I'll
join the
walk you
channel,
through that.
please do it. It does help
Yeah.
support the work that both of us do.
Mm.
So yeah, yeah,
And
exactly, John.
Linz has said there, yeah, tell live
Oh my
vision.
God,
Exactly.
Linz, are you like my first? I think I should give you some kind of
First
pat.
super fan. Wow.
Star came up, I went,
Go
oh
on,
my God.
Linz.
Linz, I love
Incredible.
you, Linz. We need to talk. Oh my God. Thank you so much.
Uh,
I honestly it really does it does really make a difference to us when people kind of it's only I think it's like not a lot, but I don't earn anything from what I do in that sense. So thank you so much. That's amazing, Linz. I will contact you because obviously you must be in my back. I'm not very good at background YouTube studio, but anyway, I digress, John. John will probably help me with that.
I'll
Continue.
help you with that. Yeah. No, it's support Carly, everyone, because
Oh,
we do this for the love, so we
we
put a lot of
do.
time and effort into it, and we don't
Oh,
really there's no really return on investment of time or money, is there really? So, but we
no.
just do it because we want to get the message out there a little bit more. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, no, this slide obviously like the social distancing, the 6 feet apart. I mean, I was walking with a family member of mine, and we were just going for a walk. And I remember someone walked, like relatively close to us. I would say sort of 8 feet away. And the person I was with, family member, he was way, oh, like getting sort of, and we were outside, we were outdoors, and it was just that was the level of kind of control and propaganda on these people. It kind of really elicited that fear within people to the point where someone's let's say 8 feet away from them, and they're kind of, hey, wait, wait, what, outdoors, in a park. It was really just to watch it all unfold. I mean, it's actually quite terrifying, isn't it? It's sort of a little bit like you're in a zombie movie and you're seeing everyone around you turn into zombies, and you're worrying like, are you the last human left? It's that kind of feeling, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, like literally with the I mean, I love the lockdowns because I always say, don't I? Think I've said it before. I felt like Will Smith with his dog in I Am Legend, like going over the golf courses, like there's nobody around. And I won't perhaps admit it fully on live live stream, man. But let's just say I went to the summer solstice in Glastonbury anyway, and it was absolutely really interesting to witness in real time that the bullshit broadcasting company, the BBC, was saying, "Don't go to Glastonbury for the solstice. Police are everywhere. They've cordoned it off. You won't get far. There, fear, fear, fear." And let's just say somebody I know went anyway.
Mm.
Nothing, nothing. It was
Of
dead,
course.
and that fear to keep the working man in line type of thing.
Mm.
I remember stopping off actually and going to a certain supermarket, shall we say, and the tannoy over the top was "Listen to your government." It was so 1984, and I was nearly sick in the cereal aisle. I was like, "Oh my God!" It was like, keep 6 meters apart. Walk. Wow. And the beat
Yeah,
went.
and people did it without even thinking about it. It's absolutely incredible. But I think that anything they tell me to do, I think that you'd be in pretty good position if you just did the opposite of whatever they said, the complete 180. I think that would be that's actually really good advice. Whatever they instruct you to do, do the opposite. I mean, I remember when Boris said no holidays. Do you remember he said like no one can go on holiday? Immediately, I went to Mexico. I booked as soon as they said that, I just booked a flight straight to Mexico,
I
and
think
I was
that's
out there
like
for 3 months.
something about the rebels in us. We just did the opposite
Yeah.
instinctively, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. And I'm glad I did. I was vindicated.
Nice.
So yeah, but social distancing and yeah, I mean that was crazy. Um, oh, and like the how everything was closed up. Do you remember the essential items like the books, the
Yeah.
what else? The toys, the
Fitted
gardening
sheets, you couldn't
equipment,
buy
the
bedding.
every bedding, all that stuff was like closed off. You couldn't get it, but the alcohol section was completely allowed and open to the public. I mean,
Good
because they want
job.
you just drunk. They want you drunk and nicely
Yeah,
lobotomized and placated, and so that you're not questioning anything. And that's probably the
yeah.
role of alcohol historically. I would imagine as well, right?
100%. I mean, I always would like to, as a bit of a drinker, perhaps, yeah, let's cut down a huge amount. I think, sages and seers and magi and druids of old have always
Mm,
used substances, whether that be a mushroom or let's say our little green friend, and or alcohol, used proportionately can open many or aid the magi to seer and beyond the veil. So I don't think it's all negative, but it's like anything, you abuse something to that point, that level. If you're using it to suppress, yeah, that's negative. But go up a few tinnies on the beach every now and
mm.
again.
I
Says
would actually love to have a chat with you about the role of alcohol and spirits and
how cool the ghoul, isn't it?
these substances and what that means in terms of opening yourself up to
And it
things.
definitely
But
does.
that's maybe, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it's probably one of the roles of alcohol.
There
Gin,
you
gin,
go.
the Jin, the spirit,
The
isn't it?
gin. Mother's
Yeah,
Ruin,
the
and
gin.
it's the DJing,
Mm,
DJI in like
mm,
DJing, like frequency as well. The gin and the gin
mm,
and the alcohol, the ghoul, because alcohol is an extractor
mm,
that's why they call it spirit, isn't it? Of course, but
yeah.
again, in moderation, can be utilized in a positive manner. But unfortunately, the way that it's promoted to us, yeah, it's got that negative, absolutely, because it keeps us
Mm,
placid and
exactly.
tired.
Yeah. And yeah, so not in a position to question authority, basically, just
Yeah, well, I've
enjoying yourself.
managed.
And
Well, I've
yeah, um, yeah, and finally, he found what he was looking for. Sure. Yeah, people were stockpiling on toilet roll. I think that was an
no.
important part, wasn't it? That was an important moment in the story, in the Clownvid story. So yeah, I remember people doing that. And yeah, this is you mentioned it earlier. People were actually walking into restaurants with their mask on,
Yeah,
in a state of fear and panic. But then as soon as their food arrived, they would take off the mask and be eating normally, and then they would put their mask on back to go to the toilet.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just it's almost like, oh, the V can't get me if I've got my if I'm eating my meal. It's just-
Oh, do you see people who like cut holes
oh
in the
God, yes, yeah, 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 yeah. They look
and
like Muppets, don't they? They look like the Muppets.
yeah, putting
Just
holes in the mask
yeah,
so that they could like put a straw through, like, because that's
I
gonna
know.
help not get a
Yeah,
virus.
it's absolutely peak insanity, wasn't it? Um, yeah. And what about, do you remember that? Do you remember? I don't know if you saw a video. There was, I don't know if it was in a school, but they had a dance between, they had a group of like on the dance floor, they had the partners dancing, but they were back to back, and the woman was like lifted up off the back of the guy, and they were dancing around. So it's meant to be like a walk, like a kind of a slow
Yes,
dance face to face.
so they didn't
But they had
breathe on
them
it.
back to back, and like the women were almost being lifted off the ground a little bit. It was just
It's
unbelievable. Like just
and they were all
insanity.
compliant, weren't they? Do you remember Holly Willoughby and
Oh God. Oh yeah, through
Boomy
the
Guy Schofield
plastic
and
through
they
the
go up
plastic
and it
shield.
was the
Yeah.
plastic shooting? I mean, these
Yeah.
people, they literally have things to pay for, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, like you
They've got
say,
blood on
all
their hands. They've
logic
got blood on their
out the
hands.
window, but we've been groomed as a nation of subservience, and now groomed with this 5D, oh, just chill out, meditate, everything's going to be cool, man. No, it's again like what Stephen says, getting us chasing all this pseudo spirituality. Oh, karma's gonna get you. Oh, this is an earth school, like Tony rallies against. Tony says, like, if you follow the channel, I think everyone can see where the spell's going with it. It's like, oh, for crying out loud.
Mm.
And like Larry's here. Hi, Larry. That Larry is our story. And Larry met me and gave me a book called The Albion Zodiac. And go check Larry Cypress's book, The Albion Zodiac. I've just actually got Behold Jerusalem by Graham K. Griffiths, which is a really kind of out of print book. So I'm really excited about that. But again, I met Larry, and the things we're uncovering now that we know, like, I mean, it's about the as above, so below, and it just makes this seem even sillier. Like it's so ridiculous. It's the answers are in the heavens, as we say at Dark
Mm.
Meadows.
Yeah. I mean,
Plexiglass.
it really brought out the insanity. It was an intelligence test. That's kind of what it was, and most people failed it.
Yeah.
That's the kind of the thing. But yeah, it was an incredible time to be alive, really, wasn't it? And yeah, I mentioned this earlier, but the TikTok dances with the synchronized TikTok dances with the doctors and nurses, which would have taken hours and hours and hours to rehearse, you know, to come up with, to rehearse and to perform. And all these videos, you've seen these videos from the hospitals all over the world. That should have been the signal for everyone to go, wait a minute, hang on, wait. You're telling me that these doctors and nurses in the height of a pandemic
Yeah.
have the time to do this when they're meant to be just completely overrun in the hospitals? That should have been the moment where everyone went, hang on a minute, like maybe there's something wrong with this narrative. Like maybe, maybe that, maybe there isn't this pandemic, maybe there isn't. But it didn't. And that's the thing, it still didn't.
No.
And they were the way that they rationalized that was, wow, they still have time to do this, even though they're overrun. Like what great people they are.
Yeah.
It's just if you can't work it out from that even, then there's no hope for you really.
And it's like, do you remember that really famous clip that went round with all the newsreaders? It was American, actually, weren't it? Where they were just repeating on, whether it was CBS, uh, CBN, whatever they're all called, and it was like all across the board, the same script read out by the newsreaders over and over again, and someone
Mm.
pieced them all together, so they were all talking in
Yes,
unison. Everyone
I saw that.
remembers
Yeah,
that
yeah,
a memey
yeah.
clip, but
What do they say? It's a threat to our democracy. It's a threat
yeah,
to
it's a threat
yeah,
to
yeah.
our
That's
democracy.
what. Yeah, that's it.
Like,
Yeah,
what?
yeah. That was
And
great. That
democracy
wasn't
is
it?
no means mob rule. I mean, this whole
Mm.
thing is the whole thing is a construct when we get back to being, like say, living men and women on the land, and leave their stories exactly where they should be in the bin and pay
Mm.
them no attention, unfortunately. But that's trying to get them to even pay attention to a story that they need to not pay attention to is a mean feat. But we do our best, don't we, John?
Yeah, it's funny because I don't know I can't remember when it was, but there was like because I'm into arm wrestling. I know that's it sounds I know it's a bit silly, but there was like this arm wrestling like event, and I said I'm really interested in coming along because I really like arm wrestling. And this guy said, "Yeah, we're doing it outside." I'm like, "Great, okay." He goes, "But listen, as a health and safety thing, it's important that you wear a mask when you do it." I was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, you need to wear a mask when you do the arm wrestling." I was like, "So we're holding each other's hand anyway, and we're going to be really out of breath. And you recommend wearing a mask when you're like doing this like high energy cardio, like because it is quite high intensity, the arm wrestling stuff. So
Yeah, yeah.
for him, he was like, oh no, but like this is wearing the mask is more important than you know It's the same thing as like, oh, swimming, it's important to wear the mask if you go swimming kind of thing. It's like, it's just absolutely bonkers. But they were so, I did an episode on this. I actually think that Clownvid
Yeah,
was a quasi-religion. It became a replacement religion because you can
yeah,
actually draw parallels between standard religion and Clownvid as a religion. So you can look at um, the the devil is Clownvid, right? The V is the devil. The dart is the savior or Jesus, or even the baptism is the dart. Uh,
yeah,
the NHS is like the church.
yeah,
Kill Bill is like the Pope. You know,
yeah,
the men in white gowns, like the priests, they're like the scientists. We're like the heretics. We're the pariahs. We're the heretics.
yeah,
Um, it just you can form so many parallels between
yeah,
and a lot of these people they're atheists anyway, but then they're believing it totally and trust the science. It's like that's it, without
yeah,
any independent thinking whatsoever. It's just
yeah.
it's crazy, really.
Yeah. It was a cult,
But
yeah, like you say, like a religious
cult,
cult. That's what it turned into,
religious,
and
yeah,
that
absolutely.
element of control, and religion,
Mm,
as I always say, to hold back to thought, to bind from religion, yeah. For we are legion, we are many. And people just absolutely, like say, like the herd of wild buffalo, one goes off the cliff and they all chuck themselves off after. It's like that
absolutely.
other, was it that, and I've said about this before, and you always remind me of the guy's name, the famous cartoonist Bob.
Oh
When
yeah,
it when
Bob. Yeah, yeah.
there's the cows
Can't
and
remember
they're
his
all
surname.
going, "You're nuts!" And there's that one like there's one cow when he's on his little like on a stage and he's telling the other cows and he's pointing to the slaughterhouse in the background and he's kind
Mm,
of obviously
mm.
trying to explain to them and they're all going like, "You're crazy!"
You're a
Like,
conspiracy theorist. Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and that's
Well,
basically
that's it,
what it.
isn't it? Like that's what cult. That's the kind of the um that's what cults are about, isn't it? It's like anyone that doesn't want to be part of that, they will demonize them and have certain words for them and coerce them. And if they're unable to be coerced, they will, make their life hell. And that's what we saw, wasn't it? Like when the people that just didn't want to be a part of this cult, this Clownford cult, you immediately I've got a slide for this, but they conspiracy theorist, anti-V, you're an anti-V'er. You are a granny killer. You are a tinfoil hat wearer. All of the they just and these were all programmed words that they'd been programmed with, conditioned with to then police other people with. And it's all again to do with the psychology of the group collective. They want as
Mm,
many people to be in their cult, in their group as possible because it makes them feel safer. It's a little bit
yeah.
like if you're standing out in the cold, the psychology is you want almost someone to stand out with you so you can both feel that pain. It's like they all want everyone to be in that state of fear together because if anyone's not, then to them it's almost like a threat to them. So that it's almost like it brought
Hive
up all that in
mind, isn't
people.
it?
Mm,
Yeah, that
yeah,
hive mind, and that's why they want
hive
that trans
mind.
that
Yeah,
that hive mind, like the Borg, like Michael was saying about the MPs that Dominic Cummings allegedly, this is just in the chat now, had come out and said that they follow a script, and if they veer
yeah.
from those scripts, then they get
Mm.
into trouble, and yeah, absolute madness.
And yeah, I mean, remember when they were saying, "Oh, you can't see your loved ones," uh, you know, you couldn't even go to
Yeah,
funerals, remember? Like they were
oh, it
saying
was
you can't even go to
awful.
funerals. They're having to like say goodbye to their loved ones over Zoom or something.
Yeah,
And I remember we didn't go and see our nan at Christmas. She was 90, 91, and we didn't go and see it
disgusting.
because remember they had like, oh, she's in zone one and we're in zone three, so
All this,
it's better not that we
motherfuckers.
go and see that. I just could, it's just and my family all complied with it because I mean my family they think that anything that's said on the man on TV is law, is enshrined in law. They don't realize that it's just an act. It's just a suggestion, isn't it, Carly?
Yeah,
You know what they were
yeah,
saying. These are
yeah,
just, these are
yeah,
just
absolutely.
acts.
And they use that word all the time. It's law, it's law. No, it's not.
Mm,
It's legal, it's legal. But again, it goes back to that responsibility thing, under our constitutional rights for the people, by the people on the realm of England on this land, but also with equity
mm,
and trust and about being the beneficiary, showing up and claiming our estates, reversion, restitution. And we're not instructing them as beneficiaries and as responsible adults in their system. However, that said, the system is a game without a shadow of a doubt, and even though we get it correct, they just won't do it. Like, so you can discharge things. No, we're not doing that. You make one mistake wrong, and that's why it's such a bloody minefield. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And everyone, all those people that stood firm and they were like given a fine or something, those people have all had those fines rescinded, haven't they? Now,
yeah,
the
yeah, because
ones
they
that
don't
like
understand.
the ones that yeah, yeah,
Because the thing is with fines as well, under, you get kind of what we call superior statutes. All men are equal under the law, so you can't just be fined by a council that's now a private corporation.
mm,
Only in front of a judge and jury of your peers, in a trial by jury, can you be convicted of anything, and there has to be a living man or woman to bring the claim. So all of it is just corporate bullshit. A mandate, as most people know, is two men going out for a curry. And actually,
that's brilliant.
that's all a mandate is. And
Yeah,
literally, a mandate in legal terms is a clause that you agree to in a contract. So when they mandated this, and wow, and what that's the bit that really kind of, I suppose, upset. One of the most upsetting things I think to see was, people trying to go and see their elderly loved ones in these care homes and them being locked up like prisons, and just saying no, you
yeah, it's
can't. Wow.
disgusting.
And like, it's like John, like you were saying, like people in supermarkets or people who organize arm wrestling concepts all
Mm,
became doctors. They all had this, and we even know that doctors have no actual genuine. I
mm,
mean, not all doctors, don't everyone kick off, but you know, um, like they became these self-appointed,
yeah,
like experts on you can't do this, you need to wear a mask. Just absolute brainwashing, unbelievable, and
mm.
really cruel to our elders who should be revered and
I
respected.
know.
And
Disgusting, disgusting,
criminal,
And I actually
absolutely.
respect the people that went in and they like kidnapped their grandma from the care
Yeah,
homes, Like I respect that,
me
because
too.
that's the only way you could do it, really. That's the only
Yeah,
way you
yeah,
could have actually, actually cared for someone was to go and do
yeah.
that. Yeah.
They
So I
just won't listen. They
can
just
agree.
don't see it. And it's like you say, John, I think the thing is, it's willful ignorance at this point. You're either a non-player character or it's willful ignorance at this point, I think.
Yeah.
They just don't want to look. But
No,
like
they
people
don't.
have said in the thread, and like you said, what is very, warming to the soul is that the moderates are on the turn, I believe. So
That's what we want. We want the moderates to start waking up. That's
in a beautiful way. Please.
that's the shift. So anyway, so this is the setup page. So we had that. We had, do you remember they said you couldn't see your nan, but then suddenly, all of a sudden, if everyone remembers this, you were allowed to go to a BLM rally.
Beautiful.
So you had the same day a Black Lives Matter rally took place near the Clownvids home, and the Matt and TV said you couldn't catch the V if you're at a BLM rally. A wonderful luck. I'll go to that instead. So that actually happened. So then they were actually saying that you then could not catch it if you're at a BLM rally. That was actually what happened in America. And they said, but you would if you went to a, a Trump rally. I don't know if you can remember that, but that was also, and again, another thing that should have immediately woken up everyone. They said, hang on a minute, are you telling me that you go to one type of rally and you're completely safe and you go to another and, or you can't see your nan, but you can go to this? That should have
Yeah.
immediately woken everyone up, but it didn't. And I still don't get why, but yeah, that's just another bit of peak insanity, wasn't it? Um,
I remember these two girls who actually was some girls that were living with another girl that I used to know. They were both teachers and very woke, and they were like locked in their room with their masks on, obeying everything, wouldn't leave. But as soon as Black Lives Matter, because it's such a cause, like they were straight out and jumping up and down on the streets, like you say, just my mind boggleth. And I just thought,
yeah.
wow. And we all know where Black Lives Matter went with George Soros being funded. Do you remember when they were just dropping those big piles of bricks and going, ooh, we
I
don't know
know,
where
yeah.
they've come
Yeah, I
from?
know,
And then
yeah.
all these agent provocateurs like
Hmm.
being sent in to cause these riots and stuff like, oh, here's just a big
Mm.
pile of bricks. And there were loads of them.
Yeah, I know, it's unbelievable, isn't it? And then all the Premier League footballers had to wear Black Lives Matter on the backs of their shirt and do the kneel. Every single game they were kneeling. And then
Yeah,
we know now like what Black Lives Matter was about, and it was just like a money laundering operation, and that all
yeah.
came out. So they kind of changed that now, at least in the football. They're still kneeling and doing all that sort of stuff, but it's now at least they're giving it a different name now rather than BLM. It's like, stand up to racism or something like that now, at least. But yeah, that was just another frustration that you couldn't see your nan, but you could go to a BLM rally. Um, And then yeah, like how many of our friends, how many people do you know did this on Facebook? You know,
Yeah, the
doing
rainbow.
their status, their V status, their Dart status. I mean, like they didn't do that for flu, you know. They wouldn't do it for anything else, would they? So why would they be virtue signaling about this? It's just like I am. It's basically they were saying I'm part of the cult.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like the kind of the like blood brothers, you know, like I'm part of it now. It's like the ritual, isn't it? It's like yeah, this is me.
yeah,
Kind of
yeah, absolutely. And then the response, like you say, in the white spell to it, you've got to love us all, was like, I've shaved my balls with a rainbow, like,
exactly. Yes. Yeah. 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 See, that's the white magic, isn't it? It's like
Yeah,
it just holds up a mirror to Medusa. You know, like the kind of Medusa's thing, and it just shines
yeah,
it back, reflects it back. It's just like you get something like this, you just hold up a mirror to these people with a bit of a funny meme that satirizes,
exactly.
and then it has the
Exactly.
effect of making them go, "Oh yeah, maybe I was a bit silly doing that." And that's the whole purpose of memes and comedy and satire, isn't it? So
Yeah,
yeah, we
exactly.
saw lots of people doing this with their Facebook frame profile frame, and
And I
yeah,
always said
it just made
that those
it
six
made you
colours, the chakra
yeah
system tipped on its head as well. Like, it's that inversion. Again, it's a symbol of inversion.
yeah.
And they were
Mm.
flying them rainbows. They loved those rainbows, didn't they,
Oh God,
John?
they love that, don't they? God, we still see that. Even the Premier League players are wearing the rainbow armbands now. I
Wanted
don't know
it,
if you saw
yeah.
it, but one player actually wrote "I love Jesus" on the armband, on the LGBT rainbow armband, and he's getting into trouble with that. But like, he shouldn't be forced to wear it anyway. Like, why is he being forced to wear that armband? Anyway, I thought like Pride Month was in June, wasn't it, or July? Like,
It's
why are
every
they still
day.
bringing all that? What? It's every day now, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, it's every
Anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked by that, but
Let's not go
yeah, I
there.
mean,
That's
I guess one of the good things that happened during the last 3 or 4 years was that you really got to see everyone exactly how they think, you know, all your friends and families, like, it all came up to the surface. 2020 vision we got of everyone, and we actually knew, like, and I really got on with my sister like more than ever, like after you know, when all this stuff happened, because I realized she was actually really awake as well, and I didn't quite realize until it all we went into all this. I was like, oh, okay, we're allies, you know, like we're actually like deep down, we're actually got the same way of looking at the world, and we really connected. So that was actually one great thing that happened, you know,
yeah,
because of all this. But it really showed you who were the asleep people and who were the awake people, who were the snitches, who were the kind of the people that were the statists and the foot soldiers of the state, you know, and who were the independent thinkers and who were the real warriors, even to the point where, you know, people did the blackout square, the BLM. You
oh
could see
God,
all that going on, and you're just like, oh, for God's sake, you know, or they do the pronouns now, and you're just like, oh, really? So it kind of like at least you knew who was in your tribe and who wasn't. That was kind of one of the good things that happened.
100%.
So yeah, there was that. And yeah, like when people got the dart, it was crazy how it's meant to protect you. That's the whole point of a jab, is it not? Even though we know they actually don't do that, but the whole point of the dart was to immunize you. And yet these people were still programmed to go after people that didn't have the dart. Remember? And they were
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"You're putting my life at risk not
God,
having
yeah,
this dart." And you're like, "Well, hang on a minute, didn't you have the dart?" And they're like, "Yes, but well, aren't you fine then?" No, we need to make sure you have the dart as well so that my dart will. Yeah, it's just, I mean, and they did. I would say a lot of people were still fearful of hanging out with anyone that didn't have the dart, even though they had the dart that was meant to work but didn't. You know, it's just, um, yeah. Again, so they just tried
And
to. I
my
wanted to
saying that
satirize that a
the
little bit.
rainbow, they've added an extra colour to it now, like a pedo colour. I wasn't aware of that
Oh
actually.
God, yeah.
And the thing is, like, we should always say for the gays, I love the gays. It's not that,
Yeah,
is it? We've always said that.
not about that.
There's no hate. It's the agenda of
No.
this government that is a
It's the
psychopathic.
political agenda behind it, but it's weaponizing the LGBT community, the gay community to use it as a political tool. That's what I
Yeah.
don't like.
And
So
there's
yeah,
that kind of whole gays against groomers, and it's
exactly.
nothing to do
Yeah,
with being. It's the agenda. It's
nothing
trying
to
to make
do.
5-year-olds
Absolutely.
telling a 5-year-old they're
Yeah,
gay is what I have the problem with, and so on
yeah,
and so forth. And we know it's an agenda because they put it in their own literature. If we choose not to read it, then.
Hmm.
And not being able to kind of trust what's in front of your own fucking eyes, like, but that's exactly what they want us like. Don't listen, don't trust what's actually in front of your face that you can actually use logic and reason to dissect, but listen to your government, it's for your safety.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, they just don't want to. I don't know whether it's a safety thing. They just, when I've spoken to friends and family about it, and just like, well, like the BBC, it's unbiased. It's funded by the public, so why would it be biased? All those thousands of journalists there, they can't all be corrupt and have an agenda, but they just don't understand how even journalism works. Like if you let's say that you work in a Black Lives Matter for a Black Lives Matter publication, and you have a journalist in there, and they go, actually, this is could be a money laundering operation, and I'm not too sure about this. Do you think that their article is going to get published by that publication? No, of course not. You have to fall in lockstep with um the agenda of that newspaper. Otherwise, you'll just lose your job. I mean, that's just fact. So when people say, "Oh, but how could all these thousands of journalists all be a part of it?" Like how it's because they will just not have anything published, and then they'll quickly lose their job, and that's it. And they get filtered out that way by the chief, what do they call it, the chief editor of the publication. So
And you
people were
get,
bamboozled. They think by the BBC, they just worship the BBC. Like again, it's a religious thing, unquestioningly.
yeah, 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 exactly.
Mm.
It's just that
Yeah.
it's so institutionalized that, people do actually still believe that institution, and those are the people and the minions that they
Mm.
hire. I always remember
Yeah.
this lady, and I won't say her name, and she worked at let's just say a newspaper publication in and around the Preston, Lancashire area. But and I said, well, you do know that all these papers, it all leads back to the Crown or Rome. The Rome, Rome works for the Crown, but it's BlackRock, Vanguard. They're all the same thing. I studied postgraduate journalism. I was going to be a journalist, and then it hit me, and I thought, where am I going to get with the truth? I wanted to be an investigative journalist. And I suppose I am one in a way. It's just about being a
Mm.
nerd and a researcher. But exactly, where do you think you're going to go? You're going to follow the party line, aren't you?
Course. Otherwise, that's it. Your job's over, isn't it? You know.
Exactly.
So yeah, so all that kind of went on. Yeah, it's just absolute madness. It's just another way to make sure that everyone got the three dot finish. Um, and yeah, and if you didn't, again, these are all the programmed memes and terms they would throw at you
Yeah.
to make sure that you fell in line with them. And how many of us got all this from our friends and family? From we got called at least one of these, right?
Got
If
called
not
worse.
all of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, it's just they didn't have any argument. It was just that, oh, you're not falling in line. There's a word for someone that doesn't fall in line, and I'll call you that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually, that
Exactly.
this happened to me when I was working with a studio, and yeah, I remember the guy that owned this studio. He was a real, hardcore believer in the narrative, should we say? And
Yeah.
I remember we were sat having a meal, and he was the dart came up, and he says, "Look, I know you're an anti-V. I know you're an anti-V." And I went, "Actually, can I just stop you there? I've had all my, jabs growing up. I've had the measles, whatever. Like, I had my yellow fever recently. I've had all my jabs." And he says, "Oh, okay, okay, right, right." And then a few weeks later, he said to me, he said to me, "John, you lied to me." I said, "What?" He goes, "You lied to me. You said you had your J's, your darts." I said, "No, no, 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 no. You just weren't listening to me." I said, "You can't call me an anti-V if growing up, I've had all of mine. I had my yellow fever 10 years ago. How can you call me that?" And then he actually exploded. He was screaming to me down the phone, because I challenged him on it. It's a little bit like saying, I mean, I am an anti-V now. I wouldn't have any now. That's the good thing that's happened in the last few years, is that I would not have any now of anything
Yeah.
else. But it's at the time I was trying to make the point to him that I was saying you can't call me an anti-Via if I've had yellow fever, measles, whatever, tetanus, and then it's a little bit like saying calling me calling me an anti-smoker, but I've had just because I've had I smoke cigars, I smoke vapes, I just don't happen to smoke cigarettes. And he goes, "Oh, you're an anti-smoker." It's not.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
like it's madness,
That
isn't it?
rhetoric, that works on
Yeah.
people's brains. And like you said, that when you challenge them, they've never had an original thought in their head. They can't back it up with
Ah,
anything they've read. They just go
yeah.
bollocks, bollocks, rubbish, rubbish, or rubbish, but no reason why. Whereas we've all
Yeah.
read like the articles and loads of articles
Yeah.
on Bible
Exactly.
theory. And I mean, that guy, I think we mentioned it on one of the last lives that we did. And I've got the video if anyone's interested. But he was saying what was in the flu dart, let's say.
Mm,
And they put in Cocker Spaniel genes in the
mm,
aborted dead fetuses. And what it does is it lowers your immunity. Like it doesn't protect you.
yeah.
Like so again, it's trust the dollar signs, but don't
Mm,
actually ask them for, the inserts or what's in them or why and
yeah.
how they react
Uh,
with each other. And the doctors don't know either. Absolute definition of insanity, isn't it? Queuing
I
up
like
for
actually what King Ether said here. He goes, "I'm anti nothing. I'm just pro the." Can't see what he says there.
the healthier
Pro the healthy
option.
option. Exactly. And I kind of said, I'm not anti-mask. I'm just pro-face. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Pro
I'm just
face,
pro.
yeah.
I'm just I'm just pro-immune system. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's
Um,
again, that's a good way to play him at the wrong game. It's like that guy who was going in filming all the empty hospitals, and they said, "You can't do that, you can't film in here." And he went, "I identify as a camera," and
oh
this kind of
yeah,
woman
yeah.
just went, "Oh, okay." I
It's
identify
just
as a
using their own
camera.
game back at them, isn't it?
Exactly, and
Um,
that's what you do in the legal and the law. Just use their own rules and use it against them. So chuck it back
mm,
at them.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's why I felt like saying, why do I need to show my V status? Can't I just self-identify as having the V, the dart? I self-identify as being darted. You
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
Suddenly it doesn't work that way, does it? But yeah, and this is still going on now. Like there's been
Yes.
an unprecedented amount of athletes dropping on the field. Um, there was actually there was a time when there was like a big wave of it as well, straight after the rollout of the darts. And we're seeing this a lot now. I don't know how many times more than the yearly average, but I think it's something like, is it 600 times or something like that? I'm not sure. So I need to check that, but it's like an astronomical surge in the amount of cardiac arrests and just drops, like the collapses on the field in
Yeah, yeah.
sporting events stuff. So, and then, but you had people saying things like, "But this has always happened." That's the NPC response, isn't it? Oh, but this
Yes,
has
it is.
always happened. The footballers have always collapsed on the field, and they're referring to maybe three or four that have happened in the last 15 years. But
Yeah,
you were getting three or four a weekend,
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
after the
And that
rollout.
dissonance, that absolute disconnect from actual statistics, even, and just
Yeah,
repeating the same stuff that they've heard off the TV.
yeah. Anyone that says anything against our beloved Vs, our beloved darts, we must call them an anti-V. We must call them a conspiracy theorist because we can't have anyone speaking foul of our God, like our church.
It is.
So
It
yeah, that
is.
that that went on. I mean, a few of the moderates are waking up to this now. I've had people say to me, "John, you're right. Like this is crazy." I mean, Matt Letitia talked about this, didn't he, when we had him on? I think
Keep meaning to put
he's
that
one of the good
interview.
guys.
We genuinely want. We put that up, didn't we? And they took it down. I got a strike, so we did have to
Yeah,
put it behind our paywall things, not because we were being
yeah,
greedy, but just because
yeah.
that's where we could put it at the time. But I have said I will put it up on BitChute. Actually, I keep meaning to do it and then do a little video to say that's where it is, maybe, and people
Mm,
can watch the whole thing now. Because just at the time that's how we decided to do it. But I will post the whole video. You can watch it in Dark Matters. Fug, join us.
mm,
But yeah,
mm.
I will stick it on BitChute as well.
Yeah,
I
join
keep
Dark
meaning to do
Matters.
it. No, forget.
Yeah, like 3 weeks later. So I say like just after 3 weeks after the experimental darts, son, you have blood clots, myocarditis, and turbo cancer. Shouldn't be laughing, but it is meant to be comedy
Don't
at the end
don't
of the day.
don't don't say the
And these,
B words or the
oh,
Mayo word.
C word. Oh no, which one can't I
Read it,
say here?
guys. We're not like at the levels for
You
that,
can read
so
that.
I
No,
think
I'm
we're
sure
doing
we'll be all right
really
with that
well
one.
actually.
But
So,
we're doing well up to that point.
no, we're doing
Um,
good. But they don't like
yeah,
that one.
but
Mayo, whoop,
I don't
mayonnaise,
don't like this.
mayonnaise.
Oh, the mayonnaise and the yeah. Um,
Really.
so yeah, so that happened as well, and then people they still weren't able to connect the dots. Family member here had a heart attack and still couldn't work it out.
Yeah.
Still thinks it could have been long COVID or something.
I know
Just
that the long convid is just
I've
like
even
that's
I've got that in there. Look, that's part of the joke. Uh,
yeah, the long clown vid is
yeah,
hilarious. I've got long clown vid. It's like
mm,
not. You've just been darted and unfortunately now you are feeling the afterglow of that. Um
exactly.
let's just it's just it's difficult and it's so difficult, but we're just dealing with facts of the case now. I mean,
Mm,
the Danish government came and openly said that it was uh a military operation. Like they've come out and admitted that now. Like what
mm,
run by NATO. What more do people want? But again, that cult, they don't want to look at it.
mm,
It is crazy.
Absolutely. And then
Dark damage, exactly, Michael. Long convid is
it's
dark damage.
absolutely, yeah. And then how many of our friends and family said, "Yeah, but I had to take Dart because how else would I have gone to Benidorm?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
how else would I
Wasn't
have
it?
taken my holiday to Mallorca if I didn't?" But that's how
Yeah,
weak people were, weak-minded they were, you know,
yeah.
just willing to do that and endanger themselves just to get their holiday at the time. They were baited into having their holiday. I mean, like literally saying, I had no choice, John. I had no choice. How else would I have taken my holiday? I mean, come
No,
on.
that was a
So
huge.
weak, you know. It kind of makes me think that it's not that I can't be friends with these people. I don't want to sound like that, right? But it is almost a little bit like I wouldn't feel comfortable if I was in a relationship with you at least,
Yeah,
and you were that, let's say I was with a girl and we had a child together and she showed me and she was that weak that she took the jab, took the sorry, dart to go on holiday. That
yeah.
that kind of I wouldn't feel comfortable with them as a partner or have them as the mother of my children, I think.
I don't think you were
Because what
getting any Russells in your underpants anymore, John.
no, maybe not.
But well,
Um,
but it is unfortunately. Can you imagine me dating or being with somebody who wasn't aware, like to at
mm.
least a huge significant degree? Like it's just like I just no, you just couldn't do it, and that's a compatibility thing now. That's that kind
I
of
don't know. Yeah, I just think it's almost a must now, isn't it?
yeah.
Plus, I'm not sure about shall I say the word, the S word, SHEDDING. I'm not
Oh
sure
right,
about
yes,
that, but
yes.
um, it's a possible. I'm kind of on the fence with that one. I don't know what you think about that, but I'm not completely sure about that one. But um,
They
that
I
could have
remember I couldn't quote the articles and the actual, but they have admitted that is a real thing now.
really, yeah. So I'm a
Mm.
little bit cautious of who I even snog these days.
I
It's like you
I
be in a nightclub, and you're just like, hey, baby, how you doing? It's like, kiss me, and you're like, wait a minute, have you have you had
no.
the you know what? And she's like, yeah, and you're like, okay. That's,
Yeah, I know. I'm in
that,
mixed camp with it these days. I was like
mm,
that, and
yeah,
obviously we know all the health problems that are stemming from the dart, etc.
yeah,
That's a real thing. But I also I think Lucy put a good comment on, and it really is the power of the mind. I remember reading the Law of One, and it is that if you think you've got it, you've got it.
yeah, I
I,
know,
I
yeah.
think I think people can be um detox from it. I think people had placebos, like so, but
Mm.
like say unless you're going to have like a proper test kit whilst you're dancing about on the dance floor at
Yeah,
night.
yeah. Oh, that'd be a good idea. Like, just take a little magnet. Like but hang on, before I kiss you, can I just quickly just like, pop it on there?
Can I do a swab?
Yeah, yeah. Can I just do a quick anal swab on the dance floor?
They might just think that's a chat up line, John.
Yeah, might turn her on a
Sorry.
little bit. Oh, baby. Um, but yeah, I remember I did actually. I was in Brazil and I snogged a girl, and then I found
I
out,
need your life, John.
huh?
New York is everywhere. Mexico,
Yeah, no, I
Brazil.
kind of went to Brazil and I snogged this girl, and I should have guessed that she took the dot 'cause she had blue hair, so that was a bit of a giveaway.
But she was
And
hot, right?
she was hot, but she had blue hair, and kind of, And as soon as she told me, I kind of like went to the bar and I was like, I think I was
We're
like,
going,
got a tequila, and I was like, oh, like, oh, you know?
oh my God.
But, but yeah, funny times, funny times. But yeah, people,
Time,
people,
time.
people were taking the dart to go on holiday, and this was like, yeah, this is like the peak
Yeah.
insanity where they could get a free hot dog or free fries or free donut, if
You're
they,
making me hungry. You're hungry,
yeah.
huh?
Um, so people were doing it. I mean, yeah, it's
Yeah. The hot dog one. I think what else? They were giving away free kebabs as
free
well.
kebabs. Maybe in the
Free
comments, people
kebabs.
can say what else they were
Yeah.
offering.
What else were they, what else were they doing, people?
Definitely donuts, definitely hot
Yeah.
dogs,
I remember that
um,
one.
French fries. I think there's another one.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. You're hungry. It's
yeah.
like submit to me. It's like the state goes, submit to me. You're hungry, huh? You want onions with that, baby?
Yeah.
Blind.
And people would have done it as well. That's the trick. Also people would have. Do you remember that when they were actually saying they actually said they said you'd be better off having sex through a hole in the wall. But also, can you imagine how many thousands of people um had made love? Let's just say that made love with
With
masks on.
muscle. Yes.
You
They
know
would have,
you know that thousands around the world were doing that. Tens of
well,
thousands would have been in bed together, where
mm,
both wearing a mask, making love. After the hot dog and the third, the booster, um, yeah,
mm.
it's an abrupt end. So,
Oh.
just think how bad it could have been if I didn't get the, you know what, and I put the hot dog on there as well. And then
Oh.
you'll notice in the background I've got the safe and effective on the other on the other tombstones.
What a sad,
I
sad
know.
end,
I thought
Joe.
it had to end in a sort of abrupt way, really, to kind of like bring the message home. But yeah, so that's the kind of the cover for it. I've got um, and the quest for a free hot
Um,
dog. If you're watching this on Friday, the 13th of December or beyond, the book will be available, and I'll be leaving a link in the description and in the pinned post. But yeah, it's just a good stocking filler for our friends and family. Have a bit of fun. As you can see, the book is it's poking a bit of fun at them, but at the same time, I'm sure they can have a laugh with it, and it's a good little commemoration of the that moment in history, that moment in time. Um, and yeah, so it's going to be available for people to get on Amazon, and yeah, it's not that expensive really. It's just kind of a cheapish price, under a tenner. And yeah, try if you can get a copy because it would help me out a little bit. And if I can get a lot of sales on the 13th, Friday the 13th, then what happens is as you get a wave of sales, then you go up the rankings on Amazon. And I think there could be a good chance this could make it to like number one in certain categories on Amazon. And then technically you can say, hey, it's a bestseller then, uh, and
and
hopefully the book can go
it's a fun
viral a
way
little
to
bit.
still keep getting that information out and also
Mhm.
to have a recap and also to remember the horror and
Yeah.
the awfulness and the criminality, but also, like I say, to keep our vibes high and keep smiling, as cheesy as that sounds, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
That
that's
was
that.
that was really fun.